Hey everybody, Bethany here. As you know, I'm going over the pathophysiological part of autism. Of course, autism is related to a disorder of our neural development. So before we go into patho, I just figured we'll just do a recap of the actual physiological process in the nervous system. The nervous system, of course, consists of the PNS as well as the CNS. Those are primarily the brain as well as the spinal cord, but for today we're going to focus on the brain. The brain, of course, has millions, if not billions, of nerve cells, which you know as neurons. At the same time, we also have neuroglia. These neuroglial cells are actually responsible for the guidance as well as development and movement of neurons in an embryo. So these are all growth factors for neurons that happens throughout the course of life. The brain, as you know, it's our main organ that controls the entire body, and that happens through connectivity as well as close interactions, which we know as synapses. These synapses are actually neuron-to-neuron communication, and the way they actually communicate is by way of neurotransmitters. They are chemical signals that travel down normally, if you take a look at one of the diagrams, normally what happens is you usually have a signal by way of neurotransmission, travels down a myelinated axon, which hastens the signal transmission into the postsynaptic neuron. And of course, as a result of going from presynaptic to postsynaptic, we are able to have our everyday behaviors such as our feeling, our perception, memory, or even reasoning. All of this occurs through signal transduction. However, if there's any impairments or defects in this highly specialized system, we are looking at a disorder of neurotransmission and signal transduction, which inevitably would lead to behavioral disorders such as autism. Now, moving on to the next slide, of course, we actually go into the pathophysiological part of what autism is about. So, pathophysiologically, what's affected is the brain's processing system as well as its actual structural components. Parts of the brain that are affected usually, most notably, are the cerebellum, which is related to our motor activity and movement, as well as the amygdala, which is related to our emotional responses. So of course, autism, what happens is that the mechanism behind it is not very well understood. However, research right now suggests that it's developmental factors that affect all functions, if not parts or multiple functions of the brain. So what happens is right after conception, teratogens or any environmental factors actually alter the brain development. As you know, during gestation, this happens very early. That would be at least week 3, in which the most vital organs, including the brain, are developing. And of course, the brain is responsible for the development and organization of all other bodily systems. So if there's a problem, then we are looking at more problems down the road as far as neurological development. So after birth, what happens in an autistic child, the brain actually grows relatively faster than normal. But after the 3rd year, usually that growth either slows down or maybe returns to a normal rate. But pathologically, the overgrowth actually affects our cognitive functions. For instance, we have an excess of neurons, and that results in overconnectivity in the brain. Another part of it is the inability of the neurons to actually migrate from hemisphere to hemisphere in the brain. Therefore, it results in gestational defects. Another part of it, of course, is signal transduction. There's an unbalanced chemical signal of excitatory as inhibitory networks, and of course all of this relates to ineffective electrical signals that don't allow us to behave normally. Now, going on to the next slide, of course, you will see a picture of the brain. The yellow portion of it stands for those in autistic people who use other parts of the brains when having to move things. On the other hand, the blue portion of it represents those of a control group, the normal people, which parts of the brains that we normally use when we're moving things. So autism, of course, although it's not highly understood, it results as changes in the brain's electrical activity. As a result, there's abnormal, if not delayed responses responses to our auditory, visual, and sensory stimuli, as well as how much memory we can actually hold in our brain. So observably, you would be able to see symptoms of an autistic child, which include impairment of social development, as well as communication, and usually they have a repetitive behavior. As of right now, there's no known cure for autism. However, if we can intervene with early behavioral and cognitive intervention, we for sure will be able to help autistic children gain socialism as well as communicational skills. And of course, that would lead to possible independency, which is the goal of life, of course. Now, although it's rare for autistic children to actually be able to be independent, there have been some successful stories. So therefore, pathophysiologically, now we know. Thank you.